Extra Talk, guys, today with Sahbi and Ajax. Very, very, very happy to have both of them today. We're going to discuss who should succeed Ten Hag. But before we start talking about the successors, potential candidates, and all these kind of things, just want to mention that I'm truly happy that Ajax has time for us again after being on United View with Flex and everything. Thank you for being on the channel again.
I'm happy to be here, guys. I'm always here.
Thank you.
He made a transfer. He made a transfer.
He made a transfer, right? He forgot about us. He forgot about it.
Staying true to Ajax, man. No worries.
Sahbi, thank you for being as well. How's Ramadan going for you, man? Everything okay?
I'm doing well. It's easy. It's going well. No issues.
Does it make you calmer when you watch Ajax now, or not?
No, it makes me more pissed. If I would take off my cap, you would see a lot of gray hair. So
you're not allowed to curse, right? It's haram.
No. I'll do my best. All
right, guys. One thing we have to mention, though, maybe you guys want to say one or two words about it. That was the interview with Louis van Gaal. Basically, I just want to say that we wish him all the best, and it shows really his character. To just carry on and do everything for football. It shows also his love for the game, and also for, he doesn't need to do it, at his age and everything he's been through, and he still wants the best for Dutch football. So for me, he was already a legend, but this is just like tenfold for me.
Yeah, totally agree.
Right?
Yeah, definitely, for sure.
He's a legend. I hope this time will be mild for him and not too bad with the cancer that he has. And it's a true gentleman, true legend. So all the best to Louis.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well said.
Guys, so rumors are getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger about Ten Hag. At this point, even Ajax doesn't have time for us ghosts to talk about, Ten Hag going to Manchester United. Also, you, Sahbi, you've been requested a couple of times to go and talk about Ten Hag. I guess this is normal. He's been very successful here at Ajax, still is very successful at Ajax. Let's talk about the possible candidates. We actually run, like a Twitter question and also on the YouTube channel to ask our followers, our subs, okay, what do you guys want us to talk about? Especially knowing that you guys would be on the Extra Talk today. They really want your opinion on who should replace Erik Ten Hag. And let's be clear about something, right? Chances are big that he might go to United, but in football, nothing is clear until you sign basically that contract. So there is still a small chance he has a contract for 1 year. He might stay with us next year. You never know. But again, let's talk about if he leaves, who would be the candidates we should look at? Actually, we need a director of football before we go to the coach, but let's skip that for a minute and go directly to the coach. So what we're going to do is the following. I asked you guys to come up with 3 candidates, like clear candidates for you. You might have had more names when doing your research. That's okay. You can mention them outside the top 3. And then I will ask you to name your third, second, and then we'll move towards the end of the video with your first nominee. And I want also, and the viewers also would like to know why you're selecting this coach, why you think this would be the suitable coach for Ajax. Let me move to Ajax first, because, he's a big shot right now. So, okay, I'll stop. Ajax, who's your number 3? Did you have more than 3 names? If you had more than 3 names, tell us that first, and then let us know who your third pick is, and then Sahbi, you can go as well.
I had 6 names actually, so I will tell the 3 outside of the top 3, and I also want to add that you instructed us to not talk with each other before this extra talk. So the names that Sahbi has and the names that I have for potential successor are totally random. We didn't speak with each other, so this is also nice to know. I will start with the 3 outside of the top 3, and I will start with my 6th place. I had Ron Jans there because he has managed a lot of teams within Holland and outside of Holland also, and he's done pretty well with a lot of teams, especially in the Eredivisie. He's a mature coach. He coached for many years already, and I think he definitely has qualities and has shown with several teams that he can play good football. Now again with Twente. So I think he's a very good coach that also maybe deserves a chance at a bigger club to show if he has the same potential there, you know, like the same with Ten Hag moving to Manchester United probably. It's also a bigger competition in a bigger club, but for Ron Jans, Ajax will be massive, you know, compared to his other teams. So I do think that what he's shown in the past, that he could be a great candidate, but not in my top 5. So I want to mention him. At the 5th place, I have Arne Slot, trainer of Feyenoord at the moment. He's done well at AZ. He's done well at Feyenoord up until now, and I think he's one of the greatest talents we have in the Eredivisie. But I do think it will be difficult maybe getting him because he's a contract for a few more years, I think, at Feyenoord. And I do think he's a great talent. So
can I ask you something about Arne Slot? I agree with you. You know, I mean, he showed it at AZ, and now his first year at Feyenoord. We have to be honest, even though we don't like Feyenoord that much, but what he has been doing at Feyenoord, even our games against Feyenoord twice this year, has been difficult, and we managed to pull through, but just slight, you know. He just extended his contract in February. I think Feyenoord was feeling the heat, so they signed the contract or extended. They had an option to extend the contract, so he has a 2-year contract left still till 2024. Is that the reason why you put him outside the top 3?
No, I put him outside of the top 3 because I have more other trainers that I prefer above him.
Okay.
And that's why I didn't give him a spot in the top 3. But I do think he can be a great coach for Ajax.
All right.
So that does not only have to do with maybe his contract situation. I do prefer some other trainers above him. So the one that took 4th place for me is Fred Grim. Okay. He's been doing well at Almere City. He's playing nice football at RKC. He's managed a few teams already in his coaching career now. And what I like about Fred Grim is he's a former Ajax player. So he has the identity of the club. And we have this like situation within the club for a decade now that we want football-minded people, Ajax people within the club, training and in certain positions within the club, like director of football, like Van der Sar and Overmars in the past. And I do think that Fred Grim has that identity. And I also like about Fred Grim is that he always plays attacking-minded football, also with teams that maybe are a little bit lower tier. So this is something I really admire in his kind of style of coaching. Yeah. So he's like a dark.
Yeah, I just want to say, maybe, Sahbi, you want to react on these names before you talk about your 3rd as well. I mean, you can react, of course, on Ajax names outside the top 3.
It's my 4th, not my 3rd.
Yeah, exactly. I just want to say that about Grim, it's just unfortunate, you know, at Willem II, even though you can argue it was not entirely his fault because the team wasn't that good, especially attacking-wise. They missed a couple of players. But if I look at his tenure at RKC, and especially, I mean, I'm going way back, but Almere City even in the first league, he managed to make it to the playoffs, and I mean, it was very close to promoting to the Eredivisie with Almere City back then. So that was amazing. I think he has some good, you know, he's like you said, he's a mature coach. He has trained a lot of teams already, especially low-tier teams. It might be a possibility. I wouldn't be surprised. The question that you get like is he ready for a big club? You know, that's the only
exactly.
But yeah,
that's why he's in my 4th place. I do
think that exactly. Just 1 minute before you go to your 3rd. Sahbi, did you want to react on one of these names of Ajax?
No. I mean, with regards to Ron Jans, I like him. I like him as a coach. He's a real people manager. I know he failed in the US when he was a coach, but that was because of his racist opinion about a player. But
he went to Atlanta, right, or not?
No, that was Frank de Boer, Cincinnati, I think.
I'm sorry, Cincinnati. Yeah.
And he made it. He made a joke.
He also went to Belgium, right? He went to which club again? I'm sorry. It wasn't successful either. I think he went to. It wasn't Anderlecht.
Wasn't it Gent?
I'm not. I don't.
That was Van der Brom probably. But
yeah, no, I can't remember. But what you're saying, you know, like his his career abroad wasn't as successful as his career, but Ajax won it as in the Eredivisie, you know. With PEC Zwolle, he won the KNVB Cup.
Exactly.
You all remember that?
Yeah. Unfortunately.
With his, you know, when he was coach of Groningen, Groningen was really a good team back then. So
yeah.
He won with PEC Zwolle also, right? The cup.
Yeah,
that's what I said.
Well, that's what I said with PEC Zwolle. He won the cup. So I do like him as a coach, but I do think that he can perform very, very well with teams that for which there isn't no pressure. So like with Twente, there was no pressure, so he could play his type of play and make miracles, as we see in these recent games. But if you would have him as a coach for a top club, I don't know whether he would be a real fit. But I do like him as a coach. That's for sure.
Wait, we have somebody here. Can you look up? Where he went to in Belgium, please? All right, we can do this, man. I mean, it's fine. All right. Anything else? On the slot, maybe?
On the slot is actually also on my list.
Okay. So he's in your top 3 then.
He's in my top 3. Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, Ajax. Sorry for taking it from you. Okay, number 3. Let's go.
Boys, number 3. Let me just turn around my paper.
Oh, you wrote a book. Let's go.
Assessment.
Yeah. Otherwise, maybe I would forget one name.
Yeah.
But third place for me is Juan Heitinga.
Really?
Really. He's been at the club since 2016, coaching several youth teams, and he's now coach of Young Ajax. And I think he's performing quite well with Young Ajax, and also in the past with those lower youth teams. And he's a child of the club. He has the identity of the club. He's been an Ajax player for forever. He knows everybody within the club. And he's been coaching now since 2016, first as an assistant manager at the youth team, and then as a manager himself in a few youth teams, and now in Young Ajax. And I do think he has the potential to be one of the natural successors in the future of Ajax. And the question now is this too early for him still? Or is it time already for him to just give it a try? Let's not forget that Frank de Boer also got dropped into the job when we're in the winter break prior to the, I believe, AC Milan game in the Champions League.
Correct.
And he performed quite well back then, and we all know what happened, you know. So I do think he's a serious contender, and I do think Ajax has him in mind also to be a future Ajax coach. But the question is it too early yet for him?
Yeah.
So he's my third place coach.
Oh, it was Standard Light, you see? Standard Light, so yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, great.
But yeah, it wasn't an easy club for him either to coach in Belgium, Royan. So coming back to Juan Heitinga, right? Can I react on that? I just, I have to be honest. Let's say Ajax will go for him. I would be neutral. I would be, of course, supportive, but I wouldn't mind if they select him, because I think, you should always give a chance to somebody like that, like you said, Ajax, child of the club, showing good things, at Young Ajax and stuff like that. The only thing I'm wondering, because you're making that reference towards Frank de Boer, and maybe Sahbi, you want to jump in as well on this one. When we appointed Frank de Boer, it was out of maybe it was a position, not a position of power. It was more a position of, we have to start all over again. We were already doing badly financially, and the way we played wasn't resonating with the Ajax style. So we had to try something else, and we were pushing for, bringing that Ajax back to Ajax, basically. But now it seems like Ten Hag leaving. He's leaving at the top of the mountain, basically. He's leaving Ajax at the top of the mountain. The question is, should somebody like Heitinga come in after Ajax being so successful? Because it's hard, to take over from somebody that has been so successful. What do you guys think?
You go first, Sahbi.
No, I mean, I agree with you on this, Juan. It's, that Heitinga is an inexperienced coach. He's doing quite well with Young Ajax, also with the talents and so on. But it would be difficult for himself as well to be thrown into the deep. Like it's a huge task, and it could only damage his career if it doesn't do well. And it's going to be difficult for anyone who replaces Ten Hag. So would you put that pressure on him? It's going to be difficult. I mean, I'm hearing rumors that Ajax wants to loan him out to an Eredivisie club to gain experience.
Yes.
I think that would be a better option to gain experience and then come back to Ajax and start his career with fresh energy and with a luggage of experience.
You feel it's too early for him still?
I think it's too early for Ajax, but also for him. It could damage him. It could damage his career.
Yeah. What do you think, Ajax?
I think it's debatable, Juan. I'm not putting him for nothing on the third place, you know.
Of course.
So I do think there are more appropriate successors for Ten Hag higher on the list. But I do think this is the identity of our club, Juan. We have always played with bravura. We always let young players debut in the first team. And I do think we also take risks appointing managers. Let's not forget, we also put Marco van Basten without any experience as a head coach, you know, almost any experience. And he didn't do quite well. Frank de Boer, other story, he did quite well at Ajax. So sometimes you have to take a risk. And I do think he has potential. Am I saying he's my favorite to be the successor of Ten Hag? No, but I do think you have to consider him in this at least top 6 for me, maybe on the 3rd place, because I like the guy and I see a lot of potential in him. But yeah, it's debatable if it's too early or not. But I do think you have to think from a position of strength and not think about what could go wrong for his career or what could go wrong if he becomes the manager of Ajax. And you have to talk about the position of strength, you know, what can he bring and what kind of quality does he have? And you have to be positive of the outcome. Because if he is considered being too light, you know, then a lot of managers, you can also even consider Arne Slot being then not experienced enough, you know. So what is experienced enough in this case? So yeah, I do agree with both of your arguments, but I do think you also have to take a chance sometime.
And you should take into account that from the Boer era, I mean, the level of quality of all the Eredivisie clubs was quite low. I mean, we weren't that great, even though we thought we were great, but the other Eredivisie clubs were also quite shitty. So maybe
that's in hindsight. That's in hindsight, right?
Yeah.
No, but just to give some additional background.
It's also easy to talk in hindsight, indeed, but let's not talk like we are on top of the mountain, like I believe Juan was saying. We're 4 points ahead of PSV, you know. So let's not talk about we're winning this Eredivisie with a landslide. The differences aren't maybe that big as we thought they were at the beginning of the season, you know. So if we were 12 points ahead or 15 points ahead, I would consider being us on top of the mountain. But the margins are like small, and we have to just this.
Yeah, no, look, if you look at it from that angle, I agree with you. But what I meant from the top of the mountain, I mean, like, if you look at Ten Hag, taking away that COVID year in which we went first, but we didn't really technically became champions. Every other year, we've won the double. This year, we can still win the double. That's peak. That's peak. And not only that, semi-final Champions League, quarter-final Europa League, last 16 Champions League. These are golden ages, basically. Not the golden age of the 90s, I agree. But if you look at this century, what we've been experiencing, it's peak, basically. Recent peak, even.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. So it's a hard shoe to fill if somebody comes in. Not only Heitinga, don't get me wrong. Any other coach coming in, it's a huge task.
But if you take the coaches out of consideration, you know, if you look at the 18 teams that are in the Eredivisie, value-wise, quality-wise, which team would be the top-tier team by a lot if you have to give your own opinion without looking through?
Are you diminishing a little bit the fact that becoming champions is not as it was before because we have so much quality in our squad compared to the others? Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying that, yes, Ten Hag is a great coach, and yes, Ten Hag did a lot for the club, but any coach that becomes coach of Ajax compared to the quality of the other teams in the Eredivisie, if they do not become champions with this kind of quality within the team, it is definitely a disappointment. So yes, if you become champion, you're the big man, like Ten Hag is. He did a lot, especially in Europe. If he was only champion for years, it would have been a totally different story. But he performed very well in Europe, and that's why he's quality, you know.
Exactly.
But within Eredivisie, whatever the coach will be, if the difference between the quality of the teams is like this at the beginning of the season, they have to become champions. So everybody will feel the pressure.
Yeah. Any final comments from you, Sahbi, on this? And can you also share with us your third on the list? So you have also 3 names, I guess.
Yeah. Definitely have three names. But as I said, I agree with Ajax. I mean, it's the objective of every coach of Ajax to become champions in the Eredivisie. There's no doubt about it. So yeah, agree with Ajax on this. So going back to the my number 3 on the list is for me Wim Jonk.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah, so we all know Wim Jonk, at least from years ago. He had a disagreement with management of Ajax because of the plan Cruijff. There was a difference in interpretation on how
maybe you should elaborate. Maybe you should elaborate a little bit also for our viewers on what happened. Exactly.
Yeah, so that's what I wanted to state. There was like a lack of there was a misinterpretation in how the management sees the plan Cruijff and how Cruijff himself, the late Cruijff himself, and Jonk sees the plan Cruijff, because Jonk wanted to mainly focus on the youth academy, whilst management wants to splash a little bit with the funds to get certain players within the first team. So there was a difference of opinion. I think that was in 2016.
And yeah, correct. Yeah.
Yeah. So there was difference of opinion, and that's why he left. He had to leave, basically, and there was a real issue at that time with possible settlements, etc., court cases, and so on. But yeah, so after a few years, he became the coach of FC Volendam.
Yeah.
And
still
he still is. He started in 2019, and he made remarkable changes within that team. The years before he came, Volendam was always 16th, 15th, and so on the table of the second of the first division.
Yeah.
But when he came, he transformed the team into a very well-oiled team, focusing on the youth, basically implementing the plan Cruijff within FC Volendam.
Yeah.
And that resulted in at least 6th place when he started, and then became 3rd place the year after. And this year he is second. He's in 2nd place.
Yeah.
So he's doing quite well with good football. Hence the reason why I think he might suit the coaching job of Ajax. Mainly because he knows the Ajax philosophy. He knows the youth academy because he was head of the youth academy at Ajax back then. He can basically further implement the plan Cruijff, which is one of the objectives. He demonstrated already that he can play good football, as shown with FC Volendam, and he can give youth players a chance, more of a chance. So I think that will be a good fit. However, there's always a downside, and with Jonk, and that will be that he might be focusing too much on the youth, while we
basically 180 degrees of Ten Hag.
You might.
I'm just joking.
But you might say that because he doesn't give.
No, I mean Ten Hag is more like if the youth player is good enough and adds quality to the squad, he will use him. Yeah. But he won't give a lot of minutes to the youth, just to help him develop. He should really add something. That's the difference.
Exactly. So I think that's the main thing, that he will most likely trying to implement more youth players in our first squad. It can be an advantage, but it is a disadvantage as well. But yeah, secondly, he doesn't have any real experience on top level. He had coaching jobs at Volendam, etc. But It doesn't have to be a bad thing, but it should be taken into account. So that's why he's on my third place.
I'm just wondering, Ajax, what do you think of Wim Jonk? And also, do you think because he left because of difference of opinion, Van der Sar is still there, you know? Do you think that would be okay now if he comes back?
Great
It's a hard question, I know, but yeah.
I do think that within adulthood and people conversing with each other, that you can come closer together, you know, like talk about the problem and finding a solution. So this shouldn't be a problem if you both have Ajax at heart and trying to make the best for the club, you know. So yes, I do think that there's a possibility. I think he's in the same pool of Heitinga and Alfred Schreuder because of the experience part, what Sahbi already mentioned. I do think he's done great work at Volendam. He wasn't on my list, but I can imagine why Sahbi put him on his list. And he's kind of the same pool as a Heitinga and as a Fred Grim. And mainly because Fred Grim already showed it on the Eredivisie level, you know, with also lower tier teams. But I'm quite sure that if Wim Jonk promotes to the Eredivisie with Volendam, that he would not be a mid-table or top contender also. So it's quite the same. So yeah, it could be an option, but I do think he will not be the successor of Ten Hag, but that's probably why Sahbi put him on third position.
Yeah, I mean, you guys, you know, honestly, I was also thinking about names, you know, and it's very hard. In recent years, it was much easier to come up with names, but there's not a lot of, you know, like coaches out there that are available and with real experience that would fit Ajax, you know, that's all these combinations. I think the one we're not gonna find a coach that is already there, you know, like a top coach that has already experienced everything already. I think it will be a coach that has to show and prove himself to Ajax again, you know, one way or another. Even though I don't know your other two names, but okay, so we went to the number threes. Sahbi, take it away with the number two. What do you have on your list?
My number two is Peter Bosz.
Okay.
So probably also on the list of Ajax.
Hey, wait a minute. Why are you guys looking and laughing? You guys shouldn't talk to each other about the coach, right?
We haven't talked, but it's about knowledge. I mean, I know Ajax, his football knowledge, so I may assume that he has him on his list, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure. We will find out.
I assume the same of you, Sahbi, so we know he's going to quite well.
All right, go ahead. Why Bosz, man? Why Bosz? Look, the thing with Bosz, before you say the good things and the bad things, what you hear the whole time, also on Twitter and everyone, he never wins any prizes.
Yeah, that's the downside. That's what I also have taken into account. I mean, we all know why we want Bosz. He plays very beautiful football, high intensity, high pressing. I mean, it's amazing. If you look at this 5-second rule, ridiculous, but it works, basically. He's playing very compact, so very close to each other. So a lovely playing style. And he's following the Cruyff philosophy. He's following the playing style of Guardiola. I know we all love the football Guardiola. His team always scores a lot of goals. So it's
a lot of goals too.
Yeah, that's the downside, but he's playing entertaining football, so you see a lot of goals. But the downside is indeed can easily concede goals because of the way he wants to play. He plays with a lot of risks. So that's the downside. Secondly, is it takes a lot of time to implement his football, his playing style. You could see that you could have seen that at Dortmund, at Leverkusen. It took him a while.
No, not with Leverkusen, actually. Leverkusen was a little bit... Because he qualified in the first year. He qualified for the Champions League, I think. So it went very good.
But in the first months, it didn't go that well. So it didn't go that smooth. I mean, with Ajax, it didn't go that smooth as well.
True.
It takes a lot of time and effort to really implement all those rules that he has in mind.
Yeah.
Especially with the 5 seconds rule. How do you stand? What is your position? And so on.
And he needs also specific players to play that football that he wants.
You definitely need specific players. You need players who can run fast, but who has that energy that power to excel. And yeah, there are not a lot of players who can do that.
True.
So that's the downside. So the implementation of his style, and of course, as you said, Bosz never won prizes. Not at Dortmund where he was sacked. Not at Leverkusen where he did, as you said, play well, and with the quality of players that he had, because a lot of players were sold when he came in.
True.
And at Lyon, he doesn't perform that well, but he already said in several interviews that within Lyon, it was the transformation was so difficult because Lyon was mainly playing with 5 defenders, really reactive football, and he had to change that all the way to an attacking style of football. And the culture, the football culture there, it's quite different. So it took him a lot of time and energy, and hopefully for him, he will have sufficient time to still implement it. But I can imagine that clubs don't want to wait too long. So that's the downside. He doesn't win a lot of prizes with his style of football.
Yeah,
maybe he's an ideal coach for Tottenham Hotspur then, because they know.
Yeah, but they don't play well as well. So that.
Look, I will touch upon Bosz later. I just want to check with Ajax. Do you have him on your number 2 as well?
No, I have him on my number 1.
Okay, we'll talk then. Yeah. Okay, we'll touch upon the number 1s then later, and be a little bit more elaborate on Peter Bosz. Can you mention your number 2, Ajax?
Of course, I do think this is one that not a lot of people expect, but I have Alfred Schreuder as my second position. Alfred Schreuder, we all heard in the media that he had a big part of the success of Peter Bosz at Ajax. The players spoke highly of him and his contribution to the team. And also, he was assistant manager, but he gained some experience the last years. He went to Hoffenheim. He was the assistant coach of at Barcelona of Ronald Koeman. And now he's doing quite well at Brugge, I believe, in Belgium, with a nice streak at the moment with a lot of wins. So he's not at the first position there, but he's closing in on the first position. And I like him as a person, as a coach, and also because of the stories I heard of him during the spell of Bosz at Ajax. So I do think he's like maybe an outside name that not a lot of people mention yet, but I do think he's a serious contender. And I would like and love to see him at the club, and I think he could do well. And also, I think he's also an option to really come to Ajax, because if you're the coach of Brugge, I do think if Ajax comes for you, that you will be, thinking about leaving the club for Ajax, because it's a big name in Holland, and you want to try and manage a kind of team like that, you know. So for me, Alfred Schreuder is a serious contender. And that's why I put him on my second place.
Yeah, Schreuder is actually an interesting one. To be honest, I haven't really thought about him, but he worked well with Ten Hag. People actually were saying that he is the mastermind behind the success of Ajax during the 18-19 season.
Yeah, but people were also saying he was the leak.
Exactly, that's what I want to say as well. He was the leak. He was a snitch towards that little newspaper, Telegraaf.
Telegraaf, yeah.
So
Krantje
indeed. So I don't know whether this is true or not, but I know he's performing well at Brugge, winning I think 9 consecutive games. Before that, he didn't do that well at Brugge, so there was a lot of issues at that time. But he's doing well. He's playing quite good football. I don't know whether he's playing the type of Ajax football, but yeah, he could be a good one. Could be a good one, definitely.
Yeah. Do you think with him, he's like, of course, he's showing it at Brugge, and he tried already at Hoffenheim. You know, like Ajax said. I always have the feeling that Schreuder, he might be a very good, you know, like assistant or second trainer. You know, like with at the time with Barcelona, you had Rijkaard and Ten Kate. And then he would be the Ten Kate guy, you know, on the field with the players and these kind of things. And then you have somebody like, you know, somebody with more stature as a coach of Ajax. Or do you think I'm being too harsh on him right now?
If it, talking to me?
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Yeah. No. Yeah, I can imagine what you are saying. I mean, he's not that of a big coach. He's not someone who is really he's not really in the position to really come forward and be the man behind the team. But we all know his strength. And we all know he's more of a people manager. He knows how to handle difficult personalities within a team. He did that well with Ziyech and other type of players. So that's a coach which you definitely need in your squad, in your club. So whether he could be a first team as a head coach, I might give him a chance. But I do imagine, I can imagine what you're saying with regards to he might be a Ten Hag, Ten Kate type of coach who is mainly helping out and assisting also during trainings, but not being the real head coach.
Although I'm saying Ten Kate, but Ten Kate did coach Ajax, of course, so on his own. But yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah.
What do you think, Ajax? You feel like Schreuder can be the #1 coach, just he doesn't need to be the #2 or something for
Definitely, definitely. I think he can bring some success to the club, and I do think he has a lot of qualities. And we have to take into consideration also that he's getting more mature the last years. He had 2 jobs as head coach now, and he also assisted for Koeman at Barcelona. And I think he would have learned a lot from him also. Because, with all due respect, I think Koeman is a great manager. So, learning next to him.
I don't think all the Barca fans would agree with you, but yeah.
Barca is maybe a different kind of club at the moment, you know, the last years because of the mismanagement. Because I think almost any coach that went there in that position that he took the helm at the club would have had a difficult situation. So it was quite bold of him to take that chance and just go for it because it was his dream club. But the most important thing with Schreuder is the level of boldness, you know, at the club will stay the same. So this is also something to take into consideration.
Yeah.
But
that's
I think
how you constructed. That's how you constructed the list.
Yeah.
Now it
Yeah. But don't forget. I mean, Schreuder will. I think he will never accept an assistant coach job as of now. I mean, he went to Hoffenheim. He's. I mean, you could easily become. I mean, you would love to become an assistant coach at Barcelona, and now he's a head coach again for Club Bruges. He could even be a coach in, I think, in Switzerland or in Austria. There were some clubs interested in him, so I don't think he will be interested in any assistant coach job.
And I think we have to be realistic, also, guys. Let's be honest. We are not going to attract big name managers to Ajax.
Why not?
Usually, because for all the serious coaches in the world, like a Pep Guardiola, Jurgen Klopp, like the really big managers, these kind of managers you cannot attract to the club. So you have to get a manager that has some experience, but also always take a little bit of a chance also that you have a quality manager that can grow at your club and bring success. So like a big name, maybe a manager that is want to do like a last job. For example, if Louis van Gaal would have loved to do a last job, you know, after the Holland squad, and he didn't become the national manager, that kind of manager, or the Guus Hiddink in his late days that coming back to the Eredivisie, you know, those kind of managers, maybe then you can attract them. But it's difficult to get a big name manager to the club. It's just not going to happen, I think. And if you want to prove me wrong, guys, please do. But I cannot think of a name that has all the experience, that has won the trophies, that has coached in the big leagues, you know. Even Ronald Koeman said he's not interested in going back to Ajax. Otherwise, I would have mentioned him on the list. But come up with a name that is of that stature. It's almost impossible.
I think he's right, Sahbi, because I'm thinking back now, you know. I mean, Keizer was promoted, didn't go well, before Ten Hag, of course. And then we go to Bosz. Bosz was building his reputation. He did well, you know, with Heracles and Vitesse. And then, you know, he went, of course, to Israel as well. And then he went to
Tel Aviv, yeah.
And then before that, we had Frank de Boer, who actually also was out of nothing promoted. So he's right. If you look at, you know, the coaches that have coached Ajax recently, these are not the finished coaches or the coaches very late in their career. It's actually in the beginning of their career, or in the early stages, if you can say.
Actually, name me one manager from the 90s, finished product already that proved it in other leagues. Even for Gaal, that was a great manager. You know, he made Ajax and he went abroad.
I think maybe Olsen at that time. He was a little bit
but
more.
Olsen wasn't
like a big. No, he wasn't a big name. He wasn't a big name, but he was more mature. I mean, you know, as a coach.
Yeah. Yeah, not of Ajax, but Rijkaard was, of course, one of the coaches who wasn't really experienced. He wasn't a big name, but he didn't do well at the national squad. But at least with Sparta, I mean, but the national squad he did well. With Barcelona he did well, so he might be a small example.
Yeah, but same with Van Basten. He was a big name also, but he didn't do well anywhere.
He didn't do well.
Let me ask you guys another question, right? Because I'm looking at you guys. I mean, we haven't talked about the number ones yet, but maybe before you guys mention the names, can I ask you a question? I would assume it's not a coach from abroad, right?
My coach is abroad at the moment, but he is a Dutch manager.
Oh, yeah, that's what I mean. So it's not a non-Dutch or like type of coach, because that's the thing, you know. Also, sometimes you hear people going like, "Why don't we get a coach from outside? You know, from another country, a German coach, or maybe the Danish coach that's training Denmark, who's doing very well."
Maybe Roger Smith.
No, I mean, yeah, but look, PSV went for that. But we don't really do that. What do you guys think of? I mean, is there a reason why you guys didn't go for it? Is that because you guys looked at, okay, Ajax doesn't do it, so I'm not putting it on the list? Or is it also a personal choice of yours? You don't want a coach from abroad to be the Ajax coach?
I think you can, from my side, I think it's twofold. First of all, I'm more interested indeed in the Dutch coaches, but that's because the Dutch coaches have a bit of knowledge on the Dutch football school, like the 4-3-3 formation. If you look at the foreign coaches, they usually play with a two-striker system or two-striker formation, or with a 4-3-3 formation, but
or with the back five now. It's also trending, the three and the wing backs, you know.
Like it's trending, but it's not. Exactly, but that's not the type of football that Ajax plays. So you have to look at the DNA of Ajax and then compare it to the playing style of other coaches. And yeah, if you look at the Dutch coaches, they have more in common with the way Ajax plays than the foreign coaches.
Yeah, I think I agree with you, because look, at the end of the day, we're also training all our youth to play a certain system. And if they come to the first squad, then all of a sudden they have a different system they have to play. It will be weird. It will be strange.
I do think, if I can add something to this, I think what Sahbi said makes a lot of sense. I do think that managers that are brought up by the Cruyff philosophy could go to Ajax, like a Pep Guardiola, but he's not a realistic target. But you know, somebody who has the same school. But what Sahbi said makes a lot of sense. You know, the Dutch managers know the way Dutch football is played, and the change towards Ajax is less of a gap to implement the Ajax style of football than getting a manager from abroad trying to play his style of football here. Because let's be honest, our fans will not accept a manager like a Mourinho coming in and playing defensive football and making a lot of other tactics than we are used to at the club. So maybe for foreign managers, Ajax is a great team to be schooled, like how to play like Ajax, but you have to have a manager that can implement and like combine the style of Ajax with the Dutch football, you know, and this is pretty difficult for foreign managers because they are brought up differently, they experience different kind of tactics, and we do not want the coach at the club that's trying to force their tactics onto our team because we have an identity at the club. This is very important.
Yeah, you remember, although he wasn't a Dutch coach, I'm sorry, he wasn't a coach from abroad. He was a Dutch coach, but his playing style was so not, huh?
Martin Jol.
It was a long ball FC, you know. So it was all balls to Suarez, and Suarez will do everything on his own. And
but Co-Adriaanse as well, eh? I mean, he played first with the 5-3-2 formation with Bergdomo and Passanen at the back with another.
Correct. That's true. Although Adriaanse was attacking football, known for his attacking style and these kind of things, but Yeah, you know, you see it backfires a lot. You know, Ajax fans, a lot of people will not accept if you just go differently on the tactics and playing style. So yeah, I agree. I agree. Ajax, did you want to say something else?
No, your hair's looking good today, man.
Thank you, bro. Hey, listen, number one, both of you, just mention that coach first, and then Ajax, you go and tell us why you have that coach on your number one list, and then we'll move to Sahbi and let's have a discussion. Let's see who's right on this one. And also, we want our viewers to react on the number ones, and maybe they have also different opinions, you know, about the list. So let us know. Ajax, take it away.
Yeah, I think if the viewers listened closely to the podcast today, that they already know what the two names will be. My name is Peter Bosz, so he's at the first slot for me. And
Ajax, he didn't win anything.
No, but he's about to if he gets the time. He's about to if he gets the time, and he can finish his project at the club. You know, because I think he is the one that put us back on the map. With a Europa League final that year. He brought us for the first time in a long time great success again within Europe. Unfortunately, we lost. But I think we were all quite happy about what he showed as a manager. Only it was cut short because he had problems with the club. And I believe it had to do, and maybe Sahbi, correct me if I'm wrong, but the coach before him, I think it was Frank de Boer. He left 4 managers at the club that were assistants of de Boer. De Boer moved on and took different assistants to another club, and a few of the coaches remained at Ajax. And Peter Bosz wanted to create his own staff to play his style of football and have his people around him. But the club wanted those coaches, because they had successor Frank de Boer, to remain at the club, and they went like this during the season, you know. And he said that he.
I think, sorry, Ajax, to cut in. I think you're right. I think there were 3 names. I'm not sure if it were 4, but maybe I'm mistaken because it's been a while.
It was 4, but I do not know all the names.
It was the fitness trainer was one of them. I think it was Bergkamp, and it was someone else.
It was Henny Spijkerman.
Yeah, exactly. Spijkerman as well. And I think what happened is that throughout the season, Bosz was already pushing for the management, Overmars and Van der Sar, that it wasn't working. They had like
they were undermining him.
They were undermining his relation. Yeah, the relationship was not good. They were not going with his philosophy and all these kind of things. And then at the end of the season, when he really pushed for it, they still said no. And then Dortmund came along, and then he said, you know what? I'm leaving. I'm going to Dortmund. So
he's the kind of manager that wants to make the decision in the end. Like the most of the managers do. And he had a lot of people surrounding him because the club forced him to, that were undermining him all the time. And they were getting like a group against him. So I do think he did well at the club, and the club wanted him to continue his journey at Ajax, but it was cut short because they did not cooperate with him bringing in his own people. So he left, and I think what he showed at Ajax and the way he tries to play football at other clubs, I love this kind of mentality, and I love, like Sahbi already told before, the 5-second rule. I do think he is somebody that if he's given the time with the culture at the club and with his style of coaching, that those prices that we are laughing about, that they will come, especially when he is at the helm at Ajax, especially within the Eredivisie and hopefully also in Europe. But this is a different case, of course. But for me, he is the number one contender. And I remember when he left Ajax, I was quite sad that he went abroad. So I have great memories of Peter Bosz at the helm of our club, and I would love to see him coach again here. So he's my number one contender.
Look, I have to be critical as a host, so let me throw 2 things at you. As a fan, and you telling somebody, okay, another Ajax fan, I want Peter Bosz. That's my number one, basically what you're saying. They would say, like what I just said, he hasn't won anything. Even when he went outside of Ajax, he hasn't won anything. Why would you bring somebody who hasn't won anything? That's number one. The second thing is, you have been very critical about Ten Hag not having a plan B. One of the things that also Peter Bosz got a lot of, I'm not allowed to say that word, but scrutiny about, let me put it this way, is that he doesn't have a plan B. And the most, I mean, we all know the final against Manchester United, in which Fellaini was going and standing next to Lasse Schöne and receiving all the balls. And this was happening from minute 1 till minute 90, and Bosz did not do anything about it. So how would you react to that? I'm being very critical, I know, but I have...
No. I'm being very simple in my answer, Juan. If this is a criteria that you're putting on the table, he hasn't won anything, then we can stop with this video, because take all the candidates into consideration that's on the list. Who won a lot of those candidates? Is Alfred Schreuder somebody who won a lot of prizes? No. Is Johnny Heitinga somebody that won a lot of prizes? No. Wim Jonk? No. So we can continue like this, you know. Also, Arne Slot, what did he win? Tell me, does he have a lot of prizes on his name?
Compared to the others, they can counter-argue on you and say that at least Bosz coached better teams that are capable of winning prizes. That's the thing.
Yeah, at least Bosz reached the Europa League final in a stadium at Ajax that he had to rebuild a little bit, and that we had to prove ourselves yet again in Europe. And he managed to go all the way to the Europa League final. This is not a thing a lot of coaches can say. So if you take into consideration, if you take into consideration how he performed with Ajax in Europe at that level, none of the other coaches can even come close on the list. So you can put different arguments in favor or against on the table to make your case, you know. But I'm just saying, for me, and I do not care what other fans think or what other people say. For me, I think he's an ideal candidate. And so he's my #1 guy. And yes, there can be said a lot why we shouldn't take him, but I'm trying to see the positives instead of the negatives that are on the table. And for me, there are more positives than negatives.
Sahbi, before you react also on Peter Bosz, can I just say one more thing to you, Ajax? Do you feel like Bosz has unfinished business at Ajax? Yeah. Does it feel that way for you?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what I said. I feel it was cut short, and that he could not complete his journey at the club, because we're blaming him on a very short time frame, you know. So I think if he would have gotten a few more years, that he could have done also well at the club. But his time was cut short also because, and this is also a strong point I believe in, he stands behind his philosophy and the way he wants to lead the club. The club didn't want to cooperate, and he said, okay, if you guys are not willing to cooperate with me, the way I want to construct my team, lead the club, and go forward with the club the coming years, then I'm leaving. And this is also something strong, you know, because he believes in what he stands for, and he's like, okay, I've told you in the mid-season, I'm asking you at the end of the season, you're not willing to cooperate, so I'm leaving. This is something strong in my opinion also. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Ajax has a point with regards to that he has unfinished business. I'm quite sure that if he would have stayed more years, like the second year, third year, he would definitely win the league title. We know Bosz didn't win any prizes, but we need to take into account that he played in Germany in a league where Bayern München is the club, the best club. I mean, how many years did Bayern München win the league title? So it's more than logical that he didn't win any prizes there in Germany.
In all fairness, with Bayer Leverkusen, he reached the final of the cup. He lost, I think.
Yeah, he lost indeed.
Yeah,
but I mean, there's such a small chance to win prizes there in Germany with a club as Bayer Leverkusen or Dortmund, even though they are quite good teams. You always have München who is on top. Yep. The same applies in France with in the Ligue 1 with Paris Saint-Germain. I mean, you can't compete with such teams. So we can imagine that he doesn't win any prizes.
But also,
so we need to take that into account.
If I can add some last remark to this, he also was at clubs a lot that he was there for 1 year or a little bit more, not for a long coaching spell, you know. So I firmly believe that his philosophy and his kind of play, same as Ten Hag has, he has a kind of vision, and it takes a little bit of time to implement it and to structure the team to play like this, not only the first year, but especially the years after. And every coaching spell he had has been cut short. He leaves after a year, and he wasn't at the helm of a club for several years. So if he comes to Ajax and he remains our manager for 2-3 years, I believe great things could happen.
Yeah, except for Bayer Leverkusen, he was there for quite some time. But the thing with Leverkusen, and I will be now, a little bit on your side on this. The thing with Leverkusen is every year he was selling his best players. Havertz, Brandt, Bailey left. I don't know if Bailey left after him or before him, but anyways, Leverkusen was selling all their best players. But what he did in the beginning with Leverkusen was commendable, to be honest. So, okay, let's go to number 1 for Sahbi.
Yeah, so as mentioned earlier in the podcast, I had Arne Slot on my list. So that's my number 1 to nominate as the coach. I know that it might not be feasible, but I mean, we all know him.
Let me ask you this, right? And actually also to Ajax about Bosz. Do you think they're available for Ajax? Do you think if Ajax knocks on the door and talks to them, that they will be open to the idea of coming to Ajax? Both of them?
Yeah, I mean, might be. I mean, he recently had an interview at Studio Football, which is a
talk show.
Pundit show,
Yeah,
a talk show with pundits, and he attended that show. And when he was asked, well, would you go to Ajax next year? He didn't say, I will never go to Ajax. He didn't say, I won't go to Ajax. He only said, I have a contract, and I don't know what will happen at the end of the season, but I have a contract at Feyenoord. So that's it.
Look, Feyenoord, we don't think highly of Feyenoord, but do you think they're that retarded that they will let Arne Slot go to Ajax? Honestly.
I mean, they would be very stupid to do so, but money talks.
Why are you laughing, Ajax? Why are you laughing?
Yeah, why are you laughing, Ajax?
This is quite some words you're mentioning.
No, but seriously, this coach, let me say something. Slot proved in less than a year already. He took over from Advocaat. He transformed the whole team.
Exactly.
They bought a couple of players, not very expensive ones, just very good, players to add depth to certain positions, strengthen the team in certain positions. And look at them now, we touched upon this earlier. They're doing quite well. They're still in Europe, although you can argue whether Conference League is still Europe, but still, they're doing well. And I'm sorry, man, it's not a serious competition. But okay, but what I want to say is he's doing well. I mean, in his first year, even like for me, if you look at Malasia, for instance, how he progressed compared to last year, he's a Dutch international and a good one now. He's playing very well. A lot of players are doing well under his helm. And I think Feyenoord is also not blind to this. They see that he's doing very well. And they just extended his contract until 2024. Why would they accept, because they have the power right now, why would they say, Ajax is coming? Yeah, sure, no problem, go.
Because you know what the problem is with Bosz is maybe a little bit more impossible, because maybe he has some feelings still from the past that he says, I'm not coming back.
Yeah.
But for Arne Slot, I think the Alderwereld rule applies. If Ajax comes knocking, they're coming to us on the bicycle,
So his bike is ready. That's what you're saying.
His bike is ready. No, I'm for sure that he wants to come to Ajax. Otherwise, he would decline that question by saying, like, I will never go to Ajax, or I will definitely not go to Ajax because I don't want to harm the Feyenoord, or I don't want to harm the fans of Feyenoord. No, he just stated, no, you never know what will happen in the future, which gives an opening. And so yeah, I think there is a small chance, like a very small chance, but any chance, if there is a small chance, we should try it.
Look how much backfire we got when we tried to sign Berghuis, even though he had a release clause. I mean, this was different. He had a release clause, and we tried to buy him, and Feyenoord came with attorneys, and they wanted to fight us. And after a while, I said, you know what? We'll meet halfway. We'll pay extra 2 million, fine. And that's how it went. Now they have a coach, which is one of their star coaches right now. no release clause, nothing like that. I'm pretty sure Feyenoord will never,
No.
at least now, let him go.
But with all seriousness, Juan, if we come and we pay a certain amount and the coach wants to leave, let's be honest, he's not at Feyenoord because he thinks it's the greatest club of the universe. He's there to prove himself in a little bit of a higher stage than he was at AZ. But in the end, they all want to coach Ajax because it's the biggest club in the Netherlands. So
which club was the biggest club in Rotterdam again?
Sparta.
Okay.
No, but in all seriousness, Juan.
All right. Sorry. Okay.
No.
I think Feyenoord cannot complain about this behavior because let's be honest, what happened with Slot and AZ?
I think honestly, rationally, you're right, but I think you're leaving out the emotion.
The sentiment. Yeah, of course. I think especially from Feyenoord side and from Ajax towards Feyenoord, this feeling is less, I think, because we're not taking them that serious. But everything that has to do with Ajax, and if a player goes to Ajax, or if a manager is about to leave for Ajax, if that happens, it's tenfold for them. And for us, we're not really thinking about it because let's be honest, which big player of Ajax will ever go to Feyenoord if they're in their prime? They can only sign Charisteas kind of players from us that, or maybe a Labiat, like that do not perform at the club. But the really big players, do you think a Tadic or a Haller or an Anthony would ever go to Feyenoord? Maybe in the last days of their career, So it isn't happening for us. And situation like it is now, and I'm not being sour or something, Feyenoord isn't the big club anymore that it was in the past. Like
exactly.
in the 80s and the 70s. Then they were big rivals, and then these kind of transfers would happen, Even Cruyff left for Feyenoord at one point.
Yeah.
But this is not the situation anymore. If Ajax wants a player of Feyenoord, and this player is willing to, and is not like a child of the club, then they will probably move, especially if we offer a lot of money, because they need it also financially. The situation isn't the same anymore. That is why the fans are that sour, because in their minds, we're still those close rivals, but it isn't like that anymore.
Exactly. Ajax has a valid point. And don't forget, if Arne Slot mentions internally to the club that he wants to go to Ajax, I mean, which club wants to have a coach in their squad that doesn't really want to coach their club but wants to go to the rival?
So he will be thrown out just like he was with AZ.
It wouldn't make sense. It wouldn't make sense to have a coach in your team, in your club, whilst in his mind he wants to go to Ajax.
So, if Arne Slot will say I want to go to Ajax, if he mentioned this after the season, he cannot remain the coach of the club anymore, because the supporters of Feyenoord will never accept this.
Okay. What about just to finalize this one? What about the availability on Peter Bosz? What do you guys think about that?
Difficult, Juan, to be honest. I'm putting him on my number one spot because I like the guy and I like him as a coach, and I think he would be a great fit. But I'm not really aware of his contract situation and if they are willing to let him go. I think you can always try it, and maybe if you give the right amount of money, that Lyon would actually want to cooperate. But I do not know what the view of Peter Bosz himself is, Maybe he is sour still from what happened in the past, and he's not willing to even come back.
The thing is, for me, it can work very quickly on Peter Bosz because, correct me if I'm wrong, Sahbi, because you follow also more the news there, but they're not doing very well league-wise, although they still have a chance to reach top 4. Basically, the reason why they're giving him a chance still, because the fans are not really happy with him, is because of his Europa League campaign. He's still in it. He can still reach far. So they're waiting and see how he gets there and how he does. But if that fails, and if he doesn't really move into the top 4, I think Lyon will not really, we want to keep him or something like that.
Nah, it's difficult because the president of Lyon has spoken out that he wants to give Bosz the time he needs. He doesn't want to put pressure on him.
Yeah.
He knows that several top players have left Lyon, so he knows Bosz is playing with mediocre players.
Honestly, he doesn't have mediocre players, and they just recently signed another player as well. So they are getting players in.
Yeah, they're getting, but not at the start of the season. I mean, they bought
true.
Shaqiri and Boateng from Bayern Munich. But that's it. And in the meantime, several players left.
They just bought Tete, right? Or did they loan him? I think bought him, Tete, I think. But anyways.
Yeah, it might be. But either way, Aulas, so the CEO, he literally said, we will give him the time. This year is always, the first year is always difficult. So it might be that it's only talks, but eventually he did say that he would give him the time. And Bosz, knowing he will try to succeed there, which makes it a bit difficult for Ajax to take him in. And on the other hand, as Ajax said, there's still a sour taste of Bosz with regards to what happened in the past at Ajax by choosing for Bergkamp and for Spijkerman and so on instead of him. But yeah, I mean, Overmars left. A lot of individuals within the technical heart of Ajax left. So it might be that he wants to have a fresh start again at Ajax because unfinished business is always something that plays in your mind. But I don't see it really coming.
May I ask a last question, Juan? And I'm hoping I'm not catching you off guard with this, but I really want to know if you have a favorite, because we've spoken about a lot of candidates and maybe you've thought about it yourself.
Yeah.
If you haven't, Jen, then it's also okay. But I'm wondering, do you have a favorite or?
Yeah, I do have a favorite. Actually, I have the same number one as you have, Ajax. I would go for Peter Bosz, even though I was, like giving you a hard time and questioning things. These are real valid questions that the fans have. But all the things that you said, I agree. I think, look, personally, what he showed, I remember that day, exactly the day after we lost the final, Europa League final. I wasn't very disappointed. I was actually proud. I was proud of this team. I remember also the video that came out that day, when we went to play. We're back. These kind of things. We didn't expect this. Honestly, you never expect this to happen. And some people might say, but we just made it a couple of times against Lyon, against Schalke, these kind of things. But
Schalke match, man, wow.
Yeah, but the thing is, the fitness level of that team. Look at the team that we had back then. People forget. I mean, Ten Hag gets a lot of credit, and rightfully so. But when Ten Hag came, we started buying big players. Not before that. I mean, we were playing with Dolberg, Younes, Traoré up front. These were our front three, and we were doing great. And we were threatening everyone in Europe. And
the only thing that is the same a bit is Klaassen was back then, and Klaassen is back now.
Exactly. No, exactly.
Yeah, but we did buy Ziyech and Neres in his time, but they were not at their prime.
Not forgetting that he was the one that came, I mean, thanks to Schöne as well, because he spoke with Bosz, but he came with the idea of putting Schöne as a number 6. These kind of things. De Ligt came through because of him. He was just 17 or something like that, or 16, 17. I don't know. I mean, a lot of things start happening because don't forget, he had to transform that team from the Frank de Boer, as they say in Dutch, betonvoetbal, to the football that, but seriously, the concrete football, to the football that we went into. And yes, it took a long time for him. It took him like 3 months. He even said it took him 3 months. But when we clicked in the second half of the season, we clicked, And it was just too late because we fell short 1 point in the league. But still, I felt also sad, like you said, Ajax, when he left, because I felt like it could only get better. With better players, we would get even better, and we would really, I really thought at that time we would crush the whole Eredivisie the next year. That's what I was thinking back then. But again, there is no perfect manager. Basically, that's what we have to say. There is no perfect manager. And I just want to finish by saying, to our viewers, let us know what you think of the candidates you guys came up with. Who's your favorite? The strange thing about this whole conversation also, which I want to put out, is we're talking about, a successor for Ten Hag. Of course, there's a huge chance he might leave, but it's not certain yet. And the second thing is, we're thinking the other way around. First, you have to appoint a director of football and then a manager. Because if you appoint a manager, and the director of football comes in and they don't click, then yeah, that's not the way it's supposed to be. So there's so many loose ends. One thing is for sure, and one thing is certain. If Ten Hag also leaves, that's like it's a reset button basically for Ajax for the future.
Agreed.